citizens need to hear from those people who are going to represent us, and all of us together want this to be a good and better city. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I would like to remind you that this is a forum, not a candidate rally. Therefore, please hold your applause until we get all through, and that way we can get more questions. Now, after we've introduced all the candidates, Davis will be doing that. You can clap for all of them. But then please hold your applause until we get all through, and when we're all done, you can just clap your heart out for all the candidates. So, hold your applause. I would like to mention that we think that we're very grateful that we have people in our community who are willing to spend the time and the energy and the money to represent us and try to make this a better community. And I'm going to let you clap again because first I would like for all the elected officials to please stand and be recognized. So if you are an elected official, and I know we have at least a couple here, elected officials, stand. That does include the people who are running too, but I guess, yeah. All right, now that we've recognized the ones who are in office, I would also like to recognize any candidate who is running for any office to please stand and be recognized. So any candidate, any candidate, any candidate, Are there any other candidates out there in the audience that we missed? Okay, so we do appreciate all of you, and we thank you, and we're eager to get started. And so I do want to thank our sponsors, Sam Garcia, Architect, Rhodes Enterprise, Frost Bank, IBC Bank, Rio Bank, Code RGV, and thank goodness we have Code RGV. Mario, do you want to wave to everybody? Mario is live streaming the event tonight. And MCN, McAllen's MCN, right back there, is taping, as is Olmo Maldonado back there, way at the back, taping for Futura RGV. And MCN will be rebroadcast soon. And when I get the word out, get the word from them, I will email everybody. And Olmo, do you have any idea when you'll get it on our webpage? When?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? That sounds great. So, without further ado, Davis, I think it's time to introduce our wonderful moderator, Davis Franklin. So, Davis, you're on.
By the way, they apparently don't have any 6'3" people. If I do this, you can see my male pattern involved. So embarrassed. But it does say on hair care products, like I said. So if you'll permit me, I'm going to lean like this because it makes it a lot easier. We're going to start with some uncontested candidates. We're going to ask them one question. We have from District 6, which is roughly the southeast part of McAllen, Veronica Villa Whitaker. She's running unopposed. PUB place B is Tony Aguirre, and Albert Cardenas for place C is among the missing. Who's supposed to be here, we don't know. If you don't know, generally the city commission runs city stuff. If you have a problem with people parking loud music at night, you call the cops. That's a city problem. And if you flush your toilet and it doesn't go anywhere, after you call the plumber, you call the public utility board because they handle sewer and water. And they actually handle a lot of big money stuff and determine how the city grows on one level. And we'll save introduction to the contested races in just a second. So the question for the candidates, these candidates are, Linda, please check me on this.
Well, all the candidates are supposed to answer that question.
Okay. What are the issues on which you will work as an elected official on the position for which you have filed? What action do you believe is necessary to accomplish positive results on these issues? Tony, why don't we start with you?
Until we just borrow Sebby's microphone there.
Oh. Good evening, everyone. How are you, everyone? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate y'all taking the time, and those that are being mainstream also in the future. It's really important for everyone here to know that participation and being active in our community is most important. I have been blessed and humbled and honored to serve this city for over 25 years. South McAllen boy. I can tell you that I love what I do. I take care, along with 3 other elected officials and the mayor, or an appointment from the mayor. We're in charge of all your water and sewer needs in our community. And it is an elected position. We do not take any money out of your ad valorem taxes. We spend all our money, all our efforts are done for our budget from the water rates and sewer. Your whole elected water bill. That's the water and sewer part of your bill. And that's how we create our budget. We feel that we're a long and narrow city. Okay? It's not a perfect square. So in order for us to have the best service and have the best pressure for your needs, we have a south water plant and a north water plant, along as a south sewer plant and a north sewer plant. So with that, we're able to move water and wastewater in an efficient way. Oh, stop already. I'm sorry. That's it. Well, we got a lot of work to do, and I've been serving, and I appreciate everything you all do for us. Bueno, bye.
Now, we will allow you to clap after each one of them on this public question, but then after that, hold it until the end.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. I am Veronica Whitaker, and I am the City Commissioner for District 6. And what am I working on, and what have I done so far since I've been in office for the last 6 years? Of course, one of my main goals, or one of the things that I ask most questions on, of course, is the budget. How do we work our budget? Where does our budget monies come from? And how do we use them and utilize them in a very concise mannerism, and not overspend or underspend, and make sure that we're answering all of our citizens' needs. Most of the time, we get calls all the time. What are we doing with the sidewalk? What are we doing with this bridge? What are we doing? What happened to Bicentennial, which most of you know. When Bicentennial is done, y'all will be most happy because our traffic will flow. Things will work again in our district, in our area. And it's just a 3-year slogan. But it's going to all of the things that we do for the city of McAllen are for the betterment, for our growth, and for us to move forward, for our traffic to flow, for our shopping, for our tax dollars, for everything to be utilized in the manner in which is best for the interest of our citizens here in McAllen. I do have 2 programs that I started when I started as city commissioner, and one of them was called Run, Ride, and Share. And our Run, Ride, and Share program, of course, is to promote a healthy lifestyle and also to reduce the amount of fatalities that happen here in our valley. And so that has been in the works for the last 6 years. I hope to bring it back up and get things moving. So thank you guys for believing in me. I appreciate your time.
Before we put the same questions to the city commission candidates, we need to introduce the timekeeper, Albert Morales. All right, so the candidates for City Commission, for District 5, we have Sebi Haddad, we've got Mark Murray, and then John Ingram, the incumbent. District 4 has no incumbent, so the candidates are Tanya Ramirez and Joe Khalifa. So why don't we start with Mr. Haddad? You get the public question as well. Again, what are the issues on which you will work as an elected official on the position for which you have filed? And what action do you believe is necessary to accomplish positive results on these issues?
So some of the items that are extremely important to me and to bring to the city are really the continued business development. We really want to promote small business. We want to go back to the way McAllen grew, what really kept McAllen on track for the last several decades. I think there's several things we can do towards that. It's really partnering up with the business community and truly understanding their needs, understanding what they want, what they're looking for, what their desire, and what forms their decision making. And I think also McAllen, the other aspect, education. Education is critical. McAllen needs to ensure that we maintain a strong partnership with MISD, the UTRGV Medical School, A&M has come in, and with all of that, McAllen is going to be able to foster opportunity and continue the growth that's going to really put us where we need to be in the next decade, in the next 15, in the next 20 years. Those are two things that are extremely important to me. I come from a banking background. Budget, I'm super critical, so I can dive into the budget, I can read the budget, I understand the budget, and I know how to make decisions that are best for the city of McAllen. That's my time. Thank you.
Yes, minute and a half.
I haven't started to get that. There's no way to,
I'm sorry, what is it? Minute and a half for each response.
He's doing a minute. He's told to do a minute. That's what he said.
we only have cards for 60.
I beg your pardon. Well, you'll have to adjust accordingly.
Are there some fairness or the fairness of the candidates already that already went? We'll allow a minute for each.
They all ran over anyway.
We'll make it up after the fact. One way or the other, we'll make sure all of you get your chance to talk, but, my apologies.
Frankly, I think that's the first.
You're in charge, Davis, go with it.
I'm sorry. I'm all all right. Teacher?
Okay, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. I tell my students that participating in our democratic process is essential, and I know that you took time out of your busy schedule to be here, and we all appreciate that. I have a long list of ideas and priorities to improve the future of District 5, of the city of McAllen, of Rio Grande Valley. We won't have time to discuss all of these tonight, I'm sure. I wish we did, but one of my biggest ones is revitalizing the downtown area. I think it's been ignored for a long time. I have business owners who tell me that they are losing business because people won't park downtown because they have to pay to park. I have employees who tell me that they are getting ticketed constantly because they're not allowed to get parking permits. I would like to do a 6-month to 1-year study where we cover the parking meters with a bag, and we have we still have time parking, but give permits to the employees. And I believe that the monies that sales tax increases through increased sales could make up for the difference.
I've always been concerned about urban decay and without ending up on Arizona, where the suburbs are healthy, but the inner city is decaying, and an undesirable place to live, with crumbling infrastructure, closing schools, and abandoned homes, like the Toyota of Chicago. One project I initiated to fight urban decay in McAllen is called Project Imagine Tomorrow, where we incentivize demolishing or rehabbing condemned homes. It has been a very successful program. Since its inception in 2015, we have rehabbed or demolished and rebuilt 141 condemned homes, and I would push to increase funding for that program. I would also increase funding for improving sidewalks, alleys, and gutters in our city's urban core. I would to make District 5 a place where people want to live and work, so our schools remain open with high standards and our property values keep increasing. Some of the ways we can accomplish this are by expanding the historic district in Old Town, protecting homeowners from bad neighborhood businesses in their backyards, improving Crockett Park, continuing neighborhood cleanups and dumpsters, and strengthening code enforcement to keep neighborhoods free from unsightly things like cars on lawns. In order to accomplish all this, I will need your support, and I will have to continue to be diligent during our budget meetings to make sure that District 5 and other inner city neighborhoods get their fair share.
I'd like the candidates for District 4, first time you're on is in Joe Khalifa.
Thank you. One of the major issues that I see that the city has is community involvement, which I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have, is that we need to get our community involved in city projects as well as city decisions. Because without their voice, how can we know what it is that we have to do to improve our city? So most of it, honestly, is focusing on what the people want. And that is the first thing that I want to do as soon as I get, if I do get elected as your next city commissioner. That is getting involved with the community, listening to the needs of the people. That is the number one thing that I think that we have an issue here in McAllen. Now, I've been out block walking. There's a lot of other issues that involve the city of McAllen. We have the traffic. We have the drainage. We have a whole bunch of issues that we need to work with. However, we need to start with listening to our people, listening to our community, and how we can better improve our parks, decrease our traffic. So I stand for community, and I believe that that's the first way to go. We need to start listening to our people. Thank you.
The first issue that I would like to address is leadership development. And I'd like to cultivate more respect and a louder voice for District 4. The way I'd like to do that is I'd like to work to create a District 4 Youth Advisory Council similar to the Mayor's Advisory Council for our students and youth. I will also invite them to attend meetings at City Hall to get a sense of what it takes to run a city. I will work to appoint District 4 citizens to city advisory boards and the Leadership McAllen program. Another issue I want to mention is housing. As a long-term board member of Affordable Homes of South Texas, formerly McAllen Affordable Homes, I want to work towards creating a stronger city and OSCE partnership to identify properties for new housing or rehabilitation or elderly housing which is needed in our area. And I will seek to become an active member of the Mayor's Housing Coalition, which exists to bring affordable housing providers together periodically. This group can work together to avoid duplication of efforts in the housing providers and enhance projects that can be partnership-based to achieve our goals and increase efficiency of housing efforts. The last issue is traffic. With my long-term experience in transportation and planning, I'll bring extra expertise to the table that will help us address these issues more effectively.
Question.
No more clapping until it's all over.
Yeah. Everybody loves to come and everybody loves to go home. So the more you clap, we'll move on by 8 and we'll stop short of that if it seems appropriate. So the public questions are over with and our public, those candidates have gone. One reminder before we get to the meat of the program, on April the 11th, we are putting on at the Convention Center because we think we can get a big crowd. Program on parenting, what we call Parenting Your Cyber Team. It started out sort of as cyber bullying, and it's grown to, a little bit more. It is, my kids are gone out of high school and stuff, but it's a big issue. And there was a kid in San Antonio who was taunted and committed suicide in the school, public school up there in high school. And the school district is held, I think it's held criminally responsible. They're held liable for that. They're supposed to manage cyberbullying. So this is a big issue for schools and for especially for parents. All right, our questioners, the media, so-called media panel. On this end, Sydney Ramon is with the McAllen School District's IB program. Monica Stewart is here on behalf of Futuro RGV. Dave Hendricks is representing Progress Times and Mission, and they're starting to circulate a little bit into McAllen, we'll see, and he's also a freelance writer. We're supposed to start with questions in ballot order. I guess Dave, you go first. And I'm assuming, I failed to ask this, ballot order is Khalifa, and then the Ramirez, that's the ballot order?
Yes,
Okay.
they are in ballot order,
All
and on your little sheet that's in ballot order.
right. Okay. Let's go.
Mr. Khalid, you worked for many years as a city planner in a number of valley cities. What experience from that job, I guess, would you apply as a city commissioner?
Well, planning really has been so instrumental here in McAllen. McAllen as a leader has always been. When I started here in McAllen, there was a great emphasis on planning, and I think it really served the community. My involvement in planning with other cities, there were similar areas to District 4, and so I believe I know what the needs of the districts are. Zoning protections to maintain property values are important. Basic services like water and sewer are important. And of course, police protection and the maintaining of the roadways and developing new roadways for future development. So I think all of that has helped me in being or having the qualifications to serve on the city commission, and I look forward to doing that.
And follow-up questions, when appropriate, are appropriate, so long as they're not like launching off into another line of questions. I think everybody knows how to just reinforce it. Monica?
Yes, Ms. Ramirez. Serving as a mayor or commissioner is virtually a volunteer job, and at times can be 24/7. Why are you seeking this position?
Funny you asked that. I've actually been asked several times why am I running for McAllen City Commissioner, and the answer has been pretty much persistent. I'm running for my community, and I'm for and in for the community, and that's been a passion of mine for many years, and not just because I'm running. It's been something it's been part of my life for, I guess, since I was like 7, 8 years old. Now, I understand that being a commissioner takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but that is the time and the effort that I'm willing to put into the city that I love and the city that I was raised in. That's what I'm willing to put my time into. I have a lot of energy, a lot of guts, and I have a lot of ideas, and I'm sure that I can strive and help the rest of the commissioners to make the city of McAllen even better than it already is now. Thank you.
Mr. Ingram, so the city of McAllen is involved in a lawsuit toward the state dealing with telecommunication, more commonly known as 5G, which our surrounding cities are actually supporting. And it seems to be an issue of a loss of money versus a loss of progress. So do you support this decision?
Yes, I do. I think that McAllen has a duty to go after revenues that are available to us, and that's part of the lawsuit. And we have a duty to taxpayers to not raise property taxes, and so that means we have to go after every piece of money that are available. And the telecommunications company shouldn't be allowed to use our telephone poles for free.
Follow-up question. Do you believe that by choosing not to engage in this telecommunication, more commonly known as 5G, that it's putting us behind in progress versus the cities that surround us?
No, no.
Mr. Murray, McAllen's ETJ goes to the north and to the west, west of Edinburgh, north of Alton. How, if you were elected, would you balance the need to be very hands-on and manage that growth, but also advocate for District 5, which is basically the heart of the city.
Right, well, we've been expanding the city territory due to the state of Texas telling us in the last legislative session that we would have to go before voters and ask them if we could annex that property, right? So they were really proactive in trying to get as much territory before that kicked in. But it seems like now that we're spending a lot of our attention on going. And I think to the detriment of District 5, perhaps. One of the issues that I'm concerned with is street maintenance. We are, in this current budget, spending $12.5 million on street maintenance, highways and streets. And that's been consistent with the last budget. And if you look at the 5-year plan, it doesn't really grow into the future as we're adding miles and miles of roads in our district. So I'm not really sure how we're going to deal with this expanding territory if we're not willing to spend in our budget to maintain what we're growing. Growth is great, but once you grow, you need to maintain where you grow. And I don't really see in the budget where they're planning for that.
Mr. Haddad, what areas of our city revenues do you believe are the most vulnerable, and what would you do about it?
The most vulnerable is obviously the sales tax. You've got the sales tax, the bridge revenue, and you obviously have property tax. If bridge revenue declines, typically sales tax declines at some point because they go hand in hand a little bit. If we don't continue to grow, if we don't continue to promote business, our sales tax dollars, the dollars spent by everyone here, the dollars spent by our community, are going to be spent in other cities. They're going to take our tax dollars and it's going to generate revenues for them. McAllen has typically been the leader, but I think we can continue to promote business in a way and continue to expand and grow to add continued sales tax revenue. Continuing and adding sales tax revenue is critical to our growth, to our revenue base, and to be able to take care of the maintenance issues or handle all the budget items that need to be taken care of. But as long as you're growing and you're expanding business, you're going to be able to generate those revenues that are going to be able to take care of the city of McAllen.
Well, we start, we do it again. We go back.
So, Mr. Khalifa, brain drain has been a very persistent issue, not only in the city of McAllen, but in the Rio Grande Valley in general. And so how do you plan to use your position to combat that?
Sorry, brain drain?
To define brain drain, it is the idea that people have skills here and you go and take them out of places.
I think we just have to maintain excellence and do the best that we can to be committed to having the best city staff, the best educational opportunities, and we just need to show our young people who are going through school and going away and learning at college that this is a great place to raise a family. I went away to college, University of Texas at Austin, and I didn't have a decision about brain drain, about where I was going to go. I always wanted to come back to McAllen, and that's what I did. I, in fact, have a nephew and niece that met in San Diego. She was from New Jersey. They moved to Denver, and they had beautiful lives in San Diego and Denver. That's when they started having children. And when that happened, they basically decided there's only one place that we want to raise our families, which is the Rio Grande Valley. They've come here, and their children have excelled in the McAllen schools, and they've excelled in their jobs. And I think that's just the example that we need to show people to be able to raise families here in McAllen. And there's a lot that we can do. We need that brain power that our citizens are learning elsewhere. We need that to come back here.
Ms. Ramirez, on your ballot application, you wrote that you had lived in McAllen for 22 months. But in that time, last year, you voted 4 times from an address in Mission. Can you help us, I guess, clear that up a little bit? If you lived in McAllen for the last 22 months, why did you vote from a Mission address?
Well, that's actually very easy to explain, Dave. Well, first of all, I've been a student pretty much my whole life. Till I was 26, that's when I graduated from law school. I've been moving around for a long time, ever since I left the Valley back in '06. The first thing I did as soon as I turned 18 was register to vote. Because for me, voting has been one of the biggest privilege that we have, which is our right to vote. And that's something that I exercised ever since I was 18. Now, it's a simple fact that, and I'm transparent. I mean, that's something that obviously was going to come up. It's not like I'm hiding it or anything. So yeah, I was registered at my parents' house ever since I was 18. And I've been moving around for a very long time, continuing my education, because I think that's one of the most important things that we need to address. Education, that's a big issue that we have down here in the back, as Mr. Calincao mentioned. Education is very important, and that's something that we need to focus on. And unfortunately, I focused on my education for most of my life, and I guess that would explain it. But yeah, but I'm transparent. I'm not denying that. So thank you for asking again. Thank you.
So basically, you have lived in McAllen for the 22 months.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Commissioner Ingram, I want to address a little bit about what Mr. Murray brought up about the parking lot, about parking in downtown McAllen. Much of those revenues have been used to pay for the current parking garage, which got paid early on. And there has been incentives and things in downtown in order to help the poor of our city out. Would you like to explain or address some of the issues in which your opponent has brought up on dealing with downtown?
Well, as far as people having to pay for parking, I just think it's a necessary evil. You know, the city of McAllen has a downtown department that is overseeing everything about downtown, from getting it cleaned up to improving trash collection, making it clean. And the way we pay for that is through, you know, those sorts of revenues. And we have a duty to our taxpayers to minimize their taxes. And these parking fees are being paid by people from outside visiting our city. I think it's a good idea, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Mr. Murray, with Mr. Ingram being the incumbent, he really has a lot of experience being city commissioner. So what skills or abilities or experience do you directly have that would make up for the lack of experience?
Well, first of all, I've been studying government since 1986. I've been teaching both American government and Texas government at South Texas College since 2005. I have been a senator on our faculty senate from like 07 to 09. I was the president-elect, the president, the past president. I'm still going back to being a senator, so I represent all of the faculty at South Texas College, a very diverse group, and I know how to work with people who have different ideas and different beliefs. I also serve on a statewide organization, the Texas Community College Teachers Association, where I've been a member since 2008, and I currently serve in a leadership position, chair of their Membership Services Committee. So I know how to work in an organization. I understand government very well. I can read the budget too, and I see what's in there and what's not. And so I just want to follow up that the Downtown Services Fund is maybe necessary to help clean up some of the downtown. But why aren't people at the Plaza Mall having to pay to park?
Because they're not parking on public streets. How about that?
Mr. Haddad, McAllen does a pretty good job making city commission meetings available to the public. Their podcasts, they're recorded, put on the website, the agenda packet is there, so if you want to see what the commission But many of the most important decisions that the commission makes are discussed at workshops, which happen maybe in the meeting before the decision is made. And then the commission has a great, frank discussion, and anyone can go to the workshop, but they're not recorded. And so if you want to find out what happened at a workshop, you can. You basically ask someone who was there. Do you think the city should be recording workshops and putting them online just like meetings? Or do you think that perhaps not recording them allows for maybe more frank discussion?
Well, the workshops are open to the public. So the city and city staff and city management isn't hiding anything. I know the workshop, the idea of not recording it is to not apply any pressure on being able to sort of brainstorm, come up with ideas, everyone can kind of say how they feel, what they believe, right? I wouldn't be opposed if the public wanted them to be recorded. I wouldn't be opposed to either some kind of transcription or minutes or a recording. A lot of the other cities put up other meetings, P&Z meetings, along with a few others. McAllen is probably the only city that's not hosting those. So I would think outside of the workshops, some of the meetings like the P&Z and other critical meetings should be made available to the public. And as you mentioned, the city commission meetings are posted, but you definitely want to see how your commissioners vote and what their input is to the meetings. So critical to that is definitely showing up to the meetings. John Ingram, 30% of the meetings missed in 2018. That's missing close to 4 months. 18% in 2017. You're talking about missing almost 2 full months of meetings, and already has the worst attendance for 2019, and missed a critical decision. So I think the least you need to ask of your representative is that he shows up to work.
Right, that's another round. Look again there.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Commissioner Ingram, would you like to respond to that?
Why don't you look at my whole record instead of the last few? Because I can tell you, you can't avoid health problems. And if you're in San Antonio at the hospital for 2 weeks, you're going to miss some meetings. And so when you get on the commission, I hope you remember that sometimes you get sick and you're not going to be able to make a meeting. Sometimes your dad dies and you're not able to make a meeting. So before you make a big judgment about that, take a look at my whole record. I have missed very few meetings, and as a matter of fact, when it comes to budget meetings, I don't think I've missed maybe one in the last 3 or 4 years. So try to be sensitive about people's personal lives and their health and their families, because sometimes it's unavoidable to miss a meeting. And if that all of a sudden happens at the last couple of years, that's sometimes when people get sick, and by the last couple of years, you just have to deal with it. But I would recommend you don't get sick, okay?
My question's for Mr. Kaluta. The city of McAllen has been known to frown upon offering incentives to great companies, which some of these companies have benefited from by locating in our neighboring towns. What is your opinion on these types of incentives?
Very difficult question. We've kind of had the history of not providing incentives, but we slowly have to move into helping companies develop in McAllen. The airport is something that I think the city commission is working on right now. I don't believe we've lost market yet hardly, but I think there's a possibility of that happening. So that is something that I served on the airport advisory committee, and I know that has always been a concern, and we did have quite an aggressive communication with the airlines. I think the airlines that have been in McAllen are quite happy with the service we've been providing. But I guess we still don't know what's going to happen as far as the market share of McAllen is. There are other incentives that some retail operations have had. Top Golf comes to mind, and that whole area of Jackson Road in FAR, I think the city of FAR industry, and I don't know if that really is something that we would have benefited from. But I think there are places like the mall that have had incentives provided to them, and the mall is our greatest sales tax generator. So it really depends on which area or which industry you're talking about.
So if I understood that correctly, then you are for incentives depending on the situation.
I would say that, yes.
Mrs. Ramirez, your opponent brought up the district youth council in reference to Mayor Darwin's revival of the McAllen Mayor's Advisory Council. So how would you use your position to specifically involve youth and specifically encourage youth leadership?
Well, great that you asked that. I love working with young people. I think that's one of the first things that we need to start working on and trying to get more of the youth involved in the city. Not only in in kind of like the mayor's community, which I think I got a little glimpse of it from the state of the city. I think it's a great program, and I think it's something that should be taken not just with the mayor, but maybe also with the commissioners. Each commissioner can actually have its own committee of young people from each district. That way they can help and contribute into the ideas that we want to bring forward to the city. Getting the youth involved, that is the number one thing that I want to focus on. And getting people involved, the community, mostly people from District 4. There's a lot of committees that the city offers, and those are places where we can assign, the commissioners would assign individuals from different districts. We can start with that. And not only that, but also getting involved in the schools and tell the students what the commission is here to do. Now, I think we need to start educating our students, our young people, about how important it is to get involved in local government. Because like I've mentioned, most people, they only care about national government and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you're never going to meet, most of us don't get to meet the President of the United States. But the commissioners were here. We're here for the people. We're more accessible. And I think starting off with that, taking that not only for the mayors, but making it for individual districts, I think that would be one of the most wonderful things that I would like to see in town. Get the youth involved. Thank you.
Commissioner Ingram. A few years ago, McAllen made some pretty significant changes to the oversight and independence of the city's internal audit. What, if anything, do you think you and the commission can do to kind of improve the independence and integrity of the auditor and improve the auditor's ability to kind of ferret out waste, fraud, and abuse?
I think that the audit committee is too independent. For example, I can't see information that the audit committee is currently working on that comes out of the committee. And some of those commissioners are new commissioners that have been on half the time as long as I have. And I think that any commissioner should be able to look into what's going on in the audit committee at any time and have access to any information that may be necessary. You can put them in a room without any phone or recording equipment and just a pen and give them the information they're asking for, and they should be able to look at it and make a determination where they couldn't make a copy, they couldn't do anything, but they can look at it. I was prevented from doing that years ago, as you know, Dave. And the other thing is I would make the city auditor an elected position because I think they need autonomy. I think right now, the audit committee, and with all due respect, I have nothing but respect for them, and nothing but respect for our city manager, really not saying anything bad about them. But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we may have a totally different group of elected officials that I wouldn't have as much confidence in. And I don't think that a city manager or a mayor or a commissioner should be in any position to direct how an audit takes place. For example, if an auditor is running down a rabbit trail, they shouldn't be told that they can't go there. And the way I understand that, that can happen. And I think it's wrong, but no disrespect to my mayor or commissioner.
Mr. Murray, we know that the ad valorem taxes of the city of McAllen go to pay practically one department in the city, which is our police department. If all of our properties taxes pay for one department of our city, and the people don't come to McAllen to shop, jeopardizing our sales tax revenue, which is actually what pays our overhead of the city, how would you propose to cover our overhead in a time period where right now perception is becoming reality?
Well, it is true that public safety takes up about half of the budget. It's not just police, but it's also the fire department. Although our city leaders like to proclaim that we're one of the safest cities in the country. And so who deserves credit for that? It's our police officers, all right? They deserve to be paid what we need to value them and pay them what they deserve. I believe in community policing. I think that the police officers should be living in our city. On what we pay some of them, they really can't afford to live in McAllen. When you've got community policing, you've got cops living in your neighborhood. That doesn't just help reduce crime, but it's good for public relations, right? But the problem is if we have reducing sales taxes like we saw a couple of years ago, then we have an issue with how we spend, right? Where is our expenditures within the budget? We need to do something to increase sales taxes. One of those things is, and I don't want to keep harping on it, but is revitalizing downtown. And there was a question earlier about incentivizing businesses to come down here. And I know that there's been pushback about that from some people, not wanting to pick winners and losers. Well, when our tax dollars paid for parking garages at the Plaza Mall, but we have to pay to park downtown, then you are picking winners and losers.
Currently, downtown has been incentivized on several time periods. The property owners in downtown tax themselves in order, with partnering up with the city of McAllen to revitalize it at one time period. Then each part of the section of downtown was divided up into the entertainment district, the central business district, art districts. How would you specifically make those changes that you are talking about, that what hasn't been tried? We're too large of a downtown area that qualifies for some of the state funding, because we do have 250 properties in our downtown area. So specifically, and you're talking to a downtown person, so I would love to hear what it is that you're proposing that we could try, because we're all open to hearing suggestions.
Right. Well, the Downtown Services Fund brings in about $1.3 million each year, okay? That's a drop in the bucket when you look at our budget, really. It's about prioritizing where you're gonna spend. I mean, if my study fails and the sales do not increase, thus raising sales taxes that could cover the 1.3 million, then perhaps $715 million on a motocross park and $317 million on gateway monuments into our city, that would make up $1.3 million right there.
Just to follow a little further, since I'm finding this intriguing. Currently, there's approximately about 4 million people that come out of our bus terminal right now. And so when you're talking about this, currently the property owners in downtown are having a really hard time in writing contracts currently. We're writing contracts like we've never written before. We're writing leases for 1-year periods, which that's never happened in the history of over 60, 70 years of the downtown area. So when we're talking about bringing sales tax, that is sales revenue back into our downtown, I would really like some more specifics on what you would do. And one more correction I would like to raise is that the employees of downtown do park free in the parking garage also. So they do have the top floor of the parking garage where they are able to do it. And so I'm really wanting to hear some recommendations, because truly we're really trying hard to try to do stuff in downtown, and we sure would like some more help in figuring that out.
Well, Many business owners that I've spoken to have said that the parking is a problem, that they feel that they're losing business because people choose to shop elsewhere to avoid the parking meters. Not only that, the employees that you say can park for free, apparently there's not enough parking for all of the employees because they tell me they park on the streets. They have to remember to run out every couple of hours to feed those meters. They get tickets constantly, and these people aren't making a lot of money. You can listen to one group that says one thing and another group that says another. I've been hearing a lot of negative. I haven't heard a whole lot of people saying everything's fine downtown.
Oh, no, they're not. But it's hard to come up with a solution.
You're supposed to ask questions, not engage.
Oh, no,
I'm sorry, we do not have questions from the audience.
I'm not asking a question.
I'm sorry.
She's entering a personal debate.
Wait,
No,
I'm
and
sorry.
the question
Wait
is
until after.
specific on how we solve the
It's
problem.
not her.
It's not an easy problem to solve, and I love the idea that you're coming up and you're addressing some of these issues.
Is it appropriate to say if anybody else wants to say 30 seconds on the downtown, but not be more, otherwise we'll be here. It's too juicy a topic just to, but it's up to you guys.
Sure. So downtown has always been part of the core of McAllen. It does reside in District 5. And McAllen over the years has done some really positive things with it. You do have the art district, you do have the entertainment district, and obviously you have the shops and the retail and the store owners who have been down there for years. So what you first want to do is you want to talk to the business owners. You've got to get down there and determine what their needs are. Once you know their needs, you can really establish a plan and find the resources or funds or whatever might be needed to get them what they want, to get them what they need, to drive more traffic down there. The other beauty about sales tax is that sales tax revenue is limitless at really no cost to all of us. So as we continue to drive business to McAllen and we plant, a new shopping center or a new retail outlet or whatever the case may be, and they're generating revenue, they're bringing in traffic, we're going to have more funds enter McAllen's base where we can now allocate more resources towards the inner part of the city, towards District 5. And at that point, it's the commissioner from that district, his ability and his strength to sort of fight for some of that money, talk to the business owners and find out what they need. But we can continue to drive growth and drive business promotion and bring in the needed tax dollars that we need.
Last call, before we get back on track.
I'll just say that there are a lot of business people all over.
Please use your microphone.
Oh, sure. There are a lot of business owners all over McAllen, and, I think they would like to get the same kind of help that you're talking about giving the downtown business people. Everybody has a duty to do their part and make their business work. I'm a small businessman. I don't get extra help from the city, unlike some of your adventures. But, when I need money, I make it. And some people go to the city to get it. I've never done that. And people downtown need to think the same way.
All right, back on track. And I totally lost.
I have a follow-up question for Mr. Ingram. Could you please specify what adventures you were referring to and which candidate you were referring to?
Why don't you read the Monitor and they go into it in 3 articles, okay? I don't need to take the time to do it because I don't have the time. But when SEBI announced in the Monitor, there's an article there in the little blue wording there. You click on it, it'll take you to an article, and it talks about exactly what I was talking about. And so after reading that, I would challenge you to want to have your home or your business next to his business, because I respectfully submit he's not a very good neighbor.
Thank you. My next question is for Mr. Haddad. If elected, what do you believe that you could do better than the incumbent?
First, John's referring to a 380 agreement that I had signed with the city about maybe 18 months ago. That was a long, drawn-out process of maybe 8 or 9 months, and I was able to sell this to the city on a very positive business idea. That 380 agreement actually expires at the end of this month, and the planning of that entity is still pretty far behind, so that 380 agreement and those tax dollars aren't going to be allocated. But on top of that, some of the things, you know, I think John has typically been anti-business. You just heard a little bit of rhetoric that he was simply against a new business that was going to come into the area. He was against expansion. John previously, years back, didn't want to expand Bicentennial. Where would we be without the Bicentennial expansion all the way to Trenton? We would have lost a ton of mobility. We wouldn't be able to have that corridor as an access north to south. He didn't want annexation. McAllen would have been locked in on the northern boundary, on the western boundary, without annexation. And if you had heard from the legislative session, they're making it even more difficult for counties or cities of our size to annex. So if we were to try to do it now, we would have had an even more difficult time. Without the annexation, he was also against the TERS. Where would we be without the northern TERS that now contains Tres Lagos? We have A&M, we've got a new church, you've got the Idea Academy, and you've got 200 plus housetops. All those are going to pay for themselves and generate McAllen residents, McAllen tax revenue, McAllen traffic. You know, you've got the entertainment district, although we've been about 11 years. John's necessarily never really supported it, which is why I believe it struggled.
Follow-up question. So, just specifically, what do you believe that you could do better than the current incumbent?
Well, we've got a plan for the future. So a lot of these decisions that John made were made over the course of the last 4, 6, 8, 10 years. If he would have had his way, McAllen would have been extremely limited in its growth potential today. We probably would have not had a lot of the tax revenue and a lot of the growth that is occurring right now. So coming from a long-standing banking background and a small business background, you've got to have the vision to look outward. So you've got to be able to create opportunity, you've got to drive growth, and you've got to have a positive sort of environment for businesses that want to come. So when you're just against incentives, as John is, just no incentives whatsoever, you're automatically closing the door and you're telling business, don't come knocking, don't come try, we're not interested. But just like at a bank, we entertain every deal. We can structure it however we want. We do risk mitigation. We determine if it's going to benefit the bank with less risk, or the way it would benefit the city. And in doing so, you can always tell them kindly that you're going to pass or that you're going to structure it a certain way. But you at least bring them in, you bring them to the table. McAllen has a fighting chance to get either a business or a new development or whatever the case may be.
Mr. Kaliba, many full-time custodians, library clerks, and maintenance workers employed by the city earn less than $12 an hour. They're full-time employees of the city. Should the city pay them more? And if so, how much?
I think it's a very difficult struggle for new families. New families that have 2 earners in the family to provide for a healthy home for their children, their families. I do believe that the city of McAllen, as I've indicated before, needs to maintain excellence in their city staff, their training. I think every department in McAllen needs to strive to be not only the best in the valley, but in the state. As many businesses will tell you, and I think everybody understands, business is only as good as their employees. So I believe that employees do need to maintain, be able to be paid, to be able to provide for their families. And so I would look at raising wages in McAllen for the lower level employees. We spend a lot of money with professional staff. I still think we need professional staff, but the lower level employees are the market. We want them to live in McAllen, and we want them to be able to provide for their families and have services from McAllen and not have to live somewhere else.
You referenced a little bit ago about the visit of President Trump to our area. And our area has unfortunately been in the media across the United States, causing us a perception problem. If you had the opportunity to be in a meeting with President Trump, what would you tell him?
Well, one thing, I'm very respectful, so obviously anything that we would have to address or tell the president personally, obviously we would be out of respect to the presidency, obviously. Now, I don't agree with the president when it comes to his image of the Rio Grande Valley, and not just McAllen. It's the whole area that they're kind of bashing on the media. We need to show people how wonderful the Rio Grande Valley is, because it really is a wonderful place. We have the border right here. We get a lot of traffic from our friends from Mexico and everybody, and I think the simple fact that he is misinterpreting some of the issues that we have down here, I guess blowing up the whole fact, oh, violence in this area. There's violence everywhere. There's violence everywhere, all over the country. There's a lot of violence in Chicago, and it's not even a border city. There's violence in Los Angeles, in LA, and they're not a border city. There's violence everywhere. It's not just here. And I think that is something that the rest of the nation needs to recognize, that this whole atmosphere of hate and violence is not just isolated to a single area. It's not just here that it exists. Now, the valley is beautiful. I love the valley. Even when I was in Michigan, I would tell people, they were like, oh, where's the valley? I'm like, oh, we're actually right on the border, and it's wonderful. I get to go to Reynosa anytime I want. And I think something that we need to express is that we welcome people from everywhere here in the valley, and we're open to new ideas, and we're open to new development. And I think that's something that, and we're educated too, and they need to remember that we're also educated people. Thank you. And we speak English, by the way. Thank you.
I'd like to give Mr. Ingram the opportunity to respond to Mr. Hernandez.
I just don't think Sandy understands District 5. For example, bicentennial. We are voting against that as a way to get the homeowners along bicentennial from the line of Ocean Park were extremely concerned about noise on that fence. They thought it was going to be terrible, it was going to be low sound, it was going to be loud. So we're talking about burns, and there was a whole lot to look out for those homeowners. And in doing that, we were able to shape the size of bicentennial. It's not written, we worked together on that. With the tourists that he seems to love so much, they get to keep 80% of the increase in their property values to develop their area up north. But what about the people in Old Town, the people in my area, in the historic district, where I live? 100% of our property taxes go to take care of our area, while those rich people up north get to keep 80% of them regenerated. It's not fair, okay? And anyone who knows property taxes in District 5 would think that's not good, or many people. Also, incentives. I would be the first one to argue for incentives if I was the one out asking for them with my hand out in the taxpayer pocket. But let me just say, sometimes I voted for incentives. And if you look at my voting record, I probably voted for them 89% of the time. But I'm not out to give incentives to just give incentives. I voted against the parking garage because they were going to build them anyway. They had come to us 2 years of that time before. We made an offer, they didn't take it, and all of a sudden they wanted it because they were going to do it anyway because they were going to spend more. Why should we spend that money if they were going to do it anyway? And there were other projects like Dave and Buster's. I didn't vote for that because they were going to do it anyway. But, business is business. You don't just give away taxpayer money.
Thank you. I do have a question for you, Mr. Ingram. That question is, you do have two opponents who are running, who are very eager for this position, and it is an endless job, so why are you running?
I started running because my son was about in 3rd grade, and it was really important to me to do something to give back, to show him that it's important to do something for this community. I was born in Alice, but I was raised here in the third grade, moved away. I came back in 2000, opened my law firm, but McAllen has always been a place in my heart that I've always loved. I remember being a kid, running through the orange groves, riding bicycles with my dad to the Catholic church over at what's now UTRGV from McAllen. McAllen is a really incredible place. And just to give you an example of that, I moved here in 2000 and I became commissioner in 2004. What other city is so accepting of someone from the outside? It's a great place. One thing I do want to say, Sally, you think I make such bad decisions. I was reelected 3 times after that I was in the position that I'm in. And this will be the 4th.
Mr. Murray, 4 of the 7 people who currently serve on the McAllen City Commission are attorneys. And that's not to say they're one-dimensional or they don't have other experience. But is there such a thing as too many attorneys on the city commission?
I don't think that really matters, personally. Would it be the same problem if we had too many chefs or too many bankers or, right? I mean, that really doesn't make a difference to me. It's how they respond to their position, that they show up, that they vote, that they listen to their whole district, right? This discussion about bicentennial and Commissioner Ingram is telling Mr. Haddad that he doesn't really understand our district. Well, Commissioner Ingram is talking about a handful of property owners who lived along Bicentennial as if that was all of District 5. And that's what we needed to do, was for those few homeowners. It kind of reminds me of Fire Station number 2, where instead we're listening to just a handful of special interest groups instead of listening to all of the district. And I think most of the district thinks public safety should come first.
Except we got a community garden and a fire station out of that one. We all won.
Mr. Haddad, first, can you explain to the audience what a 380 agreement is and other incentive programs that you would be in favor of?
Sure, a 380 agreement is basically a public-private partnership. So the city and an entity looking to do business in McAllen will come to an agreement to open, I guess, in the city, and then there would be a certain type of incentive provided. That incentive doesn't necessarily have to be cash out of hand. It can be in the form of a property tax. It can be in the form of infrastructure to get it done. So if they're going into a new area that hasn't been developed, the city of McAllen can agree to put that project ahead and maybe do the curbs and gutters, some of the things that are needed for that pad site to occur. And the city of McAllen can really structure it in any way they see fit. There are clawback features to say if you fail to perform and repay the city, that you'll have to pay back the city, for that period. So there's a lot of things that the city can structure in a way that mitigates the risk. They typically will get repaid in multiple increments, and the city can always entertain. They don't do a bunch, and I don't suggest that the city should get into a ton of 380 agreements. But if it's new to market, if it's going to be a destination, if it's going to draw traffic, and if it fits the model or growth or what McAllen is doing, it's worth entertaining. And you can always say no. There's no cost in entertaining it and determining what might be the best option.
How was the lone vote against this 380 agreement? How was the lone vote against that agreement?
So, without disclosing, that's not about too much because those are private issues going on there. Is there a reason? Do you believe that this 380 is bringing a benefit to the city? and therefore it was brought forth to the city because John voted against it. So
Can we have Dave, the reporter, give a clinical description of what happened? This has to do with the bar and grill on Nolana, does it not? I think a lot of people don't know.
It's separate from it. The 380 agreement was just a whole new project proposed to the city, which was approved.
All right. Monica.
So it was approved, is that correct?
Yes, it was approved.
So is it at a cost to the city or is it a benefit to the city?
I believe that business, at this point, the plans are sort of on the back burner. We haven't really worked on them. But if that business had come to the city, it would have been a destination, it would have been a draw, it would have generated a significant amount of tax revenue. And in that 380 agreement were clawback features to where the city would audit the business annually, determine if it met its metrics to generate the tax revenue that was expected, and if it didn't, the business would repay the city full incentive amount. So yeah, I do believe that given what was proposed, it would have definitely benefited the city, would have benefited the residents, it would have benefited the lifestyle. But this was something almost a year and a half ago that had been submitted and had moved through some motions, and from our business side, we have put it on hold. It's not something we're currently working on.
It was a brew house. Brew house.
I don't see any problem with a large-scale brewery.
$215,000.
That was the 380 agreement, $215,000 for a 10-year period.
So your standpoint is that some incentives you believe are positive for the city of McAllen. What is your overall opinion on this?
So that investment from the city would have obviously drawn that business to City of McAllen, because what you doesn't realize also, Edinburgh was fighting for the exact same business, and Edinburgh had even offered a greater incentive. We chose to go with McAllen because McAllen is really where we wanted to be, and we felt it was going to be the better destination. We wanted to do business in McAllen. But yes, they were competing for the incentive.
There are other brew houses in town, by giving them that incentive, you're picking winners and losers. Why not let all brew houses be equal?
Those brew houses can apply for incentives like anyone else.
Yeah.
And let me finish. And any business and any person can apply for incentives if they feel that they're bringing something unique. McAllen isn't writing checks. It was a very diligent process. It was extremely difficult to get through, and it's a hard sell to get any type of incentive. And on top of that, you might be picking winners and losers, but if you don't at least get a seat at the table with the businesses that are coming in that have these unique aspects that every city wants, the only loser you're picking is the city of McAllen, and you're picking our surrounding cities as the winners.
And that's after Game House, which is about
Mr. Murray, would you like to get in this fight? What would you have done? What would you do?
I
drink beer.
I don't want to get in between them. I have said many times that I'm running my campaign with honesty and integrity, and we are going to stay cool, and I expect all of my supporters to do the same.
Thank you. Mr. Khalifa, we're going to go ahead and move on with our
Please
next
keep
question.
your applause down as I asked you at the beginning. It is about a quarter till, we're going to have to go to the summaries, and those would be a minute and a half.
All right.
Mr. Khalifa, what do you believe is the most pressing issue in District 4, and how do your skills and abilities equip you to combat that?
Again, District 4, I believe, we need to develop an identity in District 4, and District 4 needs to participate fully in the affairs of the city. District 4 is, there's very old community down there. I want to mention, on the incentives, I think a great example for where an incentive will work in District 4 is particularly in our southern portion of our district. The basic need of going to the grocery store and having your sales tax come back to the city of McAllen, it doesn't happen in District 4. We have to go to City of Mission or the City of Hidalgo to buy groceries. And I think an incentive, I would love to entertain an incentive to have H-E-B or Walmart build in the southern part of the city, so that our sales tax for basic needs such as groceries, which we go to every day, every week we have to go get groceries. And right now, those sales taxes are going to other cities. So that is an incentive program that I would like to pursue. I'd also like to pursue improvements to South 23rd Street. Every time there's rain down there, all those driveways, because it's a rural construction that hasn't changed in 40 years, all those driveways fill up with water because it's surface drainage. And we need the highway department to assist the city of McAllen in building underground or urban section of roadways so that the pipes are underground and we can have access to all those roads along South 23rd Street that has not changed in 40 years.
All right, so we're gonna.
If I can have an opportunity. I actually, I would like to agree with Mr. Califan. District 4 does need a lot of help. And obviously, rejuvenation of the district is one of the major incentives for both of us, Mr. Califan. That's something that we can't put a blind eye to that. That's something that obviously it needs a lot of work, the alleys. And not only the H-E-B is a magnificent idea. The other one, emergency care. Not only do people have to drive all the way to Mission or to district or to the neighboring district to get groceries, also to get emergency care. Now the ambulance and everything, they have to drive all the way down to South McAllen to be either to take you to the McAllen Medical Center or to take you to the Mission Medical Center. There's nothing down there that a person, if they have an emergency with their child, with their parents or anything, they have to drive all the way to 2nd Street and the Expressway, or to go all the way to Bryant and the Expressway. And I think groceries is a big issue, but also our emergency care, which is something I would like to add to this statement. Thank you.
Well, let's get to the closing statements. You said a minute and a half. A minute and a half. Where do we want to start? Let's start with Mr. Khalifa. I'd like to work our way down. We'll time these so they don't go too far over.
I hope that my participation here today has given you a sense of who I am, where I come from, and why I will be the best commissioner for District 4. I hope to bring diversity to the City Commission in the way of my experience and qualifications. I have spent my entire career working for cities and have always worked to provide services to underserved areas like Lamonia's, substandard housing, and people experiencing disaster. I work in areas of development and transportation, and we must continue to work with TxDOT and the MPO to develop projects to reduce congestion and increase capacity. We must also continue to practice good planning through the city's comprehensive plan. I need your support and your vote. Tell others about me and help me to meet the people in our district and help me to get my message out to everyone. I am your true hometown candidate. I have served my city in many capacities throughout my adult life and will continue to do so. Please help me serve McAllen and District 4 as your next city commissioner. My yard sign says it all. I'm qualified, I'm experienced, I'm dedicated, and I'm someone that you can trust. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to Futuro RGV.
Wait until all of us finish, then we'll really clap.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Futuro RGV for hosting this event and for giving us the opportunity to sit before all of our constituents and express our opinions about the district. I would like to start that I'm Tanya, and pretty much what you see is what you get. I'm a 30-year-old lawyer. I've been practicing law for almost 4 years now. I started my career as an assistant district attorney with Hidalgo County. After that, after I left that job, I took the risk of opening my own office. And that was something that I was scared at first. I was scared about doing that. But I took the risk. And I think as a lot of people here, small business owners, it's a big risk that most of us were scared to kind of like jump in there. And I did. I opened the Tanya Ramirez Law Group in McAllen, in the wonderful city of McAllen. I'm actually 2-3 blocks from from City Hall, and I stand for community, and I think I really want people to understand that. I am here for the people. I'm not representing nobody's interests aside from those that I will be representing. Well, if I do get elected as your next city commissioner. I was born to be a public servant, and that is something that I want to continue doing until you all get bored of me. And the things that I offer as a candidate, I offer a lot of time, energy, a lot of drive, ideas, and to make things better. And that's something that I hope the message can get to all the voters in District 4. Because yes, I do live in District 4, and I was raised in District 4. I went to Roosevelt, and I kept back going to District 4 ever since I left to college. And that is something that I'm ready, and I'm here to work for the citizens of McAllen. And I want to make the city even better than it already is.
All right, thank you very much. John?
I'm fiscally conservative, believe in transparent government, and am optimistic about McAllen's future. In the last 14 years, I've played an important role in establishing our art incubator, new library, convention center, performing arts center, food truck park, historic district, central fire station, community garden, several sports parks, and a nature center, to name a few. As a result, McAllen is strong, vibrant, and hopeful. Today, the unemployment rate is down to 4.1%, historic lows. Sales tax receipts are up over 9.5%. Property tax rates are one of the lowest in the RGV, and the crime rate is the lowest in 34 years. McAllen is doing so well that we have received a lot of national attention. For example, we are ranked top 20 places to start a business, the #1 most affordable to live in the U.S., the #1 in job creation at a state level, the #1 in the list of boomtown cities with rising salaries, the #1 is the most affordable place to retire, the #6 Texas city in actual retail sales. I can't do this without your support. For many years, you have trusted me to represent you at City Hall, and McAllen has grown, improved, and prospered. I have the knowledge, education, experience, time, and desire to continue to ask the tough questions. With your support, I'll continue to fight for what we all want in our city government: smarter spending, greater efficiency, and more accountability. I humbly ask for your vote again this spring, and look forward to showing you why I'm still the right person for the job. Thank you.
Okay, I don't want to take too much of your time because I'm sure you're all anxious to go home at this point. Again, I'd like to thank all of those who made this forum possible. I believe we need to revitalize downtown McAllen. I question the necessity of recent property tax increases. I believe in putting public safety first. I think we should reprioritize highway and street improvements. I support merging the RGV MPOs. I question this year's budget regarding water rights acquisition expenditures. I support changes in how we distribute pay raises for city employees. I believe we should do more to increase internet accessibility to our residents. I support lowering building, electrical, and plumbing permit fees to encourage home and business improvements. And I am an advocate of term limits. If you believe in putting public safety first, reprioritizing highway and street maintenance, bringing more transparency to the local government, and revitalizing downtown McAllen, I would greatly appreciate your support and your vote. I am Mark Murray, and I'm running for McAllen City Commissioner, District 5. Thank you.
I'm Sebi Haddad. I'm running to be your commissioner from McAllen District 5 because, quite simply, I really do love this city. I was raised here, and I'm a proud graduate of McAllen ISD. My family, my teachers, my friends, they've always stressed the importance of giving back. I really took this to heart, and I proudly serve on 2 McAllen advisory boards, the McAllen Financing Housing Corp and the Convention Center Board, which I do chair. And throughout my professional career, I've worked alongside many civic organizations and nonprofits, always given our time and energy in helping them in any way possible. For over 13 years, I've served the small business community as a banker, and I've had the opportunity to invest in our community as a small business owner. The Rio Grande Valley is growing by leaps and bounds. We can no longer sit back and expect McAllen to be the leader simply by default. We have to do it by example. While other cities in the RGV have always looked to us for guidance, and we need the right kind of leaders to ensure we remain at the forefront of the Valley's growth and development. I can and will lead McAllen with integrity and honesty, and I promise to uphold the values McAllen itself prides on. I'm asking for you to give me the opportunity to work for you and make McAllen stronger. This is why I believe I'm the best choice for District 5 and why I ask for your support. I really do, with a banking career, understand the needs of the community. It's what I spend my time doing, and I wouldn't be successful in my banking career if it wasn't for my reputation. Thank you.
Remember that we're going to have reruns of this on the on the Bureau McAllen website and McAllen's cable network.
Wait just a minute.
Hang on, that's recorded it, so we play it again. We thank you for coming, and we thank our sponsors.
Okay, thank you, Pamela, Canada, Davis, MCN, which will be rebroadcasting it. Oval back there for it'll be on the website, and Mario, the live stream. Thank you very much.
Carlos, what is the they say we're gonna be in Explore McAllen or what website?
What was that?
Where were they gonna post it, the video? I heard and I went away.
Facebook and McAllen MCN.
Oh.